Hello, welcome back to Math 7 with Mr. Passon. Today we are continuing our equation series. We're going to be solving slightly more complicated equations. Today we're going to talk about multi-step equations with distributive property. This is where we're going to have to apply one of our rules ahead of time. We're just going to have to simplify before we solve an equation. Now, the distributive property applies to equations just like expressions. Okay, and really all we're doing is replacing one expression with an equivalent expression. So if we look at this first one here, I'll go ahead and distribute these three, and then we're going to talk about what they are. So if we think about our box, our 4 goes over here, our 2x goes up here, and our 9 goes up here. So 4 times 2x is 8x, and then it's going to be plus 36. Let's add another box here. 3 times 7, or sorry, negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. 21. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so we're going to get plus 12x. And then let's look at this last one. 1.5 times negative 4 is negative 6, so we get negative 6x. And then 1.5 times negative 6 is negative 9, so we are going to subtract 9. Don't forget to account for any negative on the outside here like we had to do with this one. Hopefully you got those three right. We're going to talk about our steps to solve. So we can distribute to simplify first. Then we will combine like terms. If possible, that's one of our ways that we can simplify. And then we will solve. Okay? Now, there are times that you might go in the other order, and you might choose, for a particular reason, to do things in other orders. But this is the one that's going to be generally the most effective for us. Alright, so again, we're going to try this one. I'm going to go over these first two, and then I'm going to ask you to do this third one on your own, and then we've got some additional examples on the next page. Okay, so first thing we need to do is distribute. We have, what's the text size here? Oh, text size is not great. Let's change all that to 11. Alright, so let's distribute. The 4 is multiplied by the 5x, and the 4 is multiplied by the 6. So we get 20x plus 24 equals 12. Now, after that one simplification step, we're ready to use our normal, just how do we get rid of a plus 24? Well, we're going to subtract 24 from both sides. And we're going to get 20x, well, not 2x, 20x, and that's 20 times x equals negative 12, because 12 minus 24 is negative 12. Alright, and then we're going to divide both sides by 20. Because that's the term we're trying to get rid of. We've got the multiplication by 20 for that x. To get rid of that, we divide both sides by 20. So we're going to finally have x equals negative 12 over 20, which is the same as x equals negative 0.6. Alright, let's do our check. So we're going to take the original problem. So we've got 4 parentheses 5 times negative 0.6, and because that is a negative and I want to just sort of draw attention to that, I'm going to put in another set of parentheses, plus 6 equals 12 question mark. Let's do the work. We get 4, that's negative 3 plus 6. And does that equal 12? Question mark, yes, because that is 4 times 3, and that does equal 12. Yes. Let's do it again. Step 1. Let's simplify. Simplify by distributing. So we're going to get 6x minus 30. Equals 18. We're going to add 30 to both sides. Why? Because that's one of the things we want to get rid of. And we get 6x equals 48. How do we get rid of? Now, every time we have a letter next to a number, that's really a multiplication. So how do we get rid of that multiplication? Well, we divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. And we're going to get x equals 8. Let's check our work. So again, we're going to plug 8 into this original problem. So we're going to have 6 parentheses 8 minus 5 close parentheses equals 18 question mark. Well, that's 6 times 3 equals 18 question mark. Yep, that is true. Woohoo! Looks like we know what's going on. Go ahead and finish this last one on your own. Pause the video, check it out, and then we'll go over it. Okay, first thing we need to do is distribute. Note we've got a negative sign to distribute, so we're going to have negative 6x. And then a negative times a negative is a positive, so we're going to get plus 12 equals 18. Okay, we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. Oh, that's not a 12. And that's going to give us negative 6x, which is, remember, a negative 6 times x, and that's going to equal 6. Well, that's the same as saying x equals negative 1, because we divide both sides by negative 6. So we get x equals 6 divided by negative 6. Right? Let's check our answer, which, by the way, yes, I said it before, but I didn't write it down, equals negative 1. So, let's do negative 3 parentheses 2 times negative 1 minus 4, and asks, does that equal 18? Well, let's check this first part. We got negative 3. Oh, I went accidentally to the next page. Negative 3 times, let's figure out this inside. We've got negative 2 minus 4. And does that equal 18? Well, we get negative 3 times negative 6, which, yes, does equal a positive 18. So, yes, our answer is correct. Let's go ahead and look at this bottom part. When solving multi-step problems, where are you most likely to make a mistake? Well, think about it. I know what I would write in here. Pause the video, put in your answer, and then we'll go on. Now, these ones, the only difference is that there are rational numbers in there. So everything else is pretty much the same. Now, you can work it through the exact same way, and I would suggest doing that. But go ahead and start working on these, and then we will go over each one. Okay, so our first step is often going to be distribute. Now, I'm going to think of a decimal at the same time, so a half times x is a half x, which is 0.5x. And the only reason I'm writing it as a decimal instead of as a fraction is because it's hard for me to write fractions. A half times 4 is 2, and that's going to equal negative 12. Let's subtract 2 from both sides. And we get 0.5 times x equals negative 14. Now, we divide both sides by 1/2, or that's the same as multiplying by a negative 2. Sorry, multiplying by 2. That's multiplying by the reciprocal. Forgot that second L, so we put it back in there. And then we're going to get x equals negative 28. Alright. We should check our answer, and I'm going to make the text on this just a little bit smaller so it all sort of fits, and then just sort of line stuff up again. But let's check our answer. So we've got 1/2, so 0.5 times negative 28 plus 4. And the question is, does that equal negative 12? Well, negative 28 plus 4 is negative 24, so we've got 0.5 times negative 24, and that is equal to negative 12. So our answer, x equals negative 28, is correct. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. First, let's distribute to get rid of those parentheses. We're going to have 26. Oh, that's not a 26. 26 equals 6x minus 4. Now, we have two operations in here. We've got a multiplication times 6 and a subtracting 4. We want to get rid of this 4. We can think of this as plus a negative 4. What's the opposite of a negative 4? Well, that's a positive 4, so we're going to add 4 to both sides. So we're just trying to think of what will get rid of that term so we can get that x by itself. Alright. So then we get 30 equals 6 times x. Divide both sides by 6. Why? Because we're trying to get rid of this 6. We're trying to get this x by itself. And 6 divided by 6 is 1. So we get 30 divided by 6 equals x. And that is 5 equals x. Or we could rewrite it as x equals 5. So our answer is x equals 5. Let's take a look at this next one. We've got to distribute 2/3 times 3x. That's 2x. 2/3 times negative 6 is negative 4, so we're going to have minus 4. And that is going to equal 8. Now, let's get rid of, we need to get rid of this multiply by 2. But we also need to get rid of this subtract 4, because we're trying to get this x term by itself. We work backwards, so we're going to get rid of that plus 4 first. Oh. Sorry, get rid of that minus 4 by adding 4, because that's the opposite. And we get 2 times x equals 12. Or, after we divide by 2, we get x equals 6. Let's check our answer. 2/3 times, and I'm going to put the 2/3 in parentheses just so it's easier for me to see it and recognize that it's supposed to be a fraction. 3 times 6 minus 6. And does that in fact equal 8? Question mark. Do I have space for that? Let's take everything here. Make it just a little bit smaller so we have room for one more line, maybe 2 more lines. That's 18 minus 6, so that's 2/3. Times 18 minus 6 is 12, and that equals 36 over 3, no, 24 over 3. which is, yes, equal to 8. So it is true. So our answer is x equals 6. Let's think through this one. Again, go ahead and distribute first. That'll simplify the problem. Oh. Why is it, think about it, that I'm not multiplying this negative 2 times 4? Well, this negative 2 only applies to things in the parentheses. And it looks like I'm still on that large text, so I want to switch my text size on all these down to 11. That's going to make it a little easier to get everything worked in. So already our problem is a lot simpler. How do we get rid of a subtracting 6.2? Well, we're going to add 6.2 to both sides. So we get negative 3.4x equals 10.2. Okay, let's go ahead and divide. We're going to take 10.2 and divide by negative 3.4. And when we do that, so divide both sides by negative 3.4. And when we do that, we get x equals negative 3. Alright, now again, we should take the time to check it, but I don't want this video to go too long. It turns out when you check it, that does work. Let's go ahead and check out this one. We're going to get 20 minus 10x equals negative 14. Remember, the number outside the parentheses only applies to the numbers inside the parentheses, not everything. How are we going to get rid of this 20? Well, it's a positive 20, so I'm going to put in minus 20. Now, for the most part, we've been using the opposite of the operation. So these are going to cancel, but I'm still going to have a minus 10x or plus a negative 10x. So even though these cancel, I'm going to have negative 10x equals negative 34. And then if I divide both sides by negative 10, well, then I get x equals 3.4. Alright, now our last answer, hopefully you've already done it, and you should be working it out. So I should see all the work here on yours, but to confirm, go ahead and check your answer. You should have gotten x equals negative 2.5. So if you didn't get that one, you got that one. Then you need to go back and see if you can find your mistake, and we're going to read through this word problem. Alright, 3 friends met. Oh, I'm actually going to view and zoom out a little bit so it's a little easier to read. 3 friends met for a book club and a Sorry, I'm having trouble reading. 3 friends met for a book club at a coffee shop. Each friend ordered a cup of coffee and 2 donuts. The total for the order was $22. Okay? If the cup of coffee costs $3.25, then use the diagram to write an equation to solve for C, the cost of each donut. So, let's think that through. It's 3 times, right? And then in my parentheses, I'm going to have the cost of a cup of coffee, which is $3.25, plus 2 times the cost of the donut. And that's going to have to equal $21.75. Now, they didn't really give us room to solve it here, so we're actually going to solve it over here. So let's go ahead and distribute first. I'm going to grab another text box here, and we're going to get 3 times 325, which is $9.75, plus 6 times C out that C equals 2175. We're going to subtract our 975 from both cases, and we're going to get 6C so 6 times C equals 12. That means each donut costs $2. Now, in context, you should make sure to round to the nearest cent and put the dollar sign. Similarly, we can look at this one. 2 brothers can each purchase a new pair of hiking boots and 2 canteens. The hiking boots cost $34 each. Their total purchase was $98. So first we need to figure out what's the thing we're trying to find, the cost of the canteen, right? So let's let C equal the cost of the canteen. Well, we know that 2 brothers, so it's 2 groups of 2 times the cost of the canteen plus 34, and that equals 98. So let's break it down. 34 was the cost of the boots, plus 2 times the cost of the canteen. Then we had to take all of that and multiply by 2 because there were 2 brothers, and they each did that. Alright, now let's go ahead and solve that equation. Take the time, pause the video here, work through it, figure out the cost of each canteen, and we'll figure out that the cost of the canteen, C, is $7.50. And again, since it's money, we should write it like it's money. If you'd like, you can summarize today's lesson, see what new things we added to. Excellent work today. I hope you did well. I hope you were working those problems ahead of time, getting practice. So go take a look at your assignment, and we are good to stop there.